As a content creator, one of the things that I need to do is test the best cards from every set so you get a good feel for what they're like. Duskmourn has just released, so we're going to test the best cards from the set for sure. But first, there's something I have to do. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and Sean gave me a pile of donation deck lists, dealer's choice, that I get to use for whatever I want, and, well, I know what I want, and I think I know what you want too. It is Unstoppable Slasher, a 2/3 with Death Touch, and more importantly, when it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half of their life rounded up. So, quick numbers game. Opponent starts with 20 life. They get hit for 2. They are down to 18. Trigger happens. They are down to 9. Ooh, gross. And if you continue this math, Unstoppable Slasher is going to kill your opponent in 3 turns, all by itself. Now, as a bit of a Dark Ritual enthusiast, the idea of playing this on turn 1 is very attractive to me. So I threw together a deck list real quick that I think is reasonable to see whether or not this is actually a Legacy viable card. So the starting deck list was from a recent, I think, Legacy Challenge or 5.0, I forget which it was, by Flost. It had some cool cards in there. I've done quite a bit of adjusting, but the core is theirs. I really wanted to fit this in, and the original deck list did not include Dark Ritual, so we want to sneak that in there. And we can use Dark Ritual to power out our Barrowgoyfs as another Death Toucher and source of card advantage. And we can also just play multiple things, like a Stalactite Stalker into an Orcish Bowmasters or a Dauthi Voidwalker, and we can just do something like Dark Ritual Thoughtseize and even just an Emperor of Bones as a somewhat powerful anti-graveyard card. Now, the thing that made me interested about this deck list is it just had a pile of removal in it. With 4 Fatal Push and 4 Long Goodbye, Psychic Frog in theory shouldn't be giving us too much trouble, and the original main deck also had some copies of Go for the Throat as well, but I had to make room for 8 cards to kind of make this deck idea pop off. So, for Unstoppable Slasher to work, we need to clear the way, and that's why I want to run 8 removal spells. And, if you kind of squint and turn your head sideways funny, these Death Touchers are also removal spells some portion of the time as well, right? And in theory, the Unstoppable Slasher has more text that makes it come back. If it dies, if it has no counters on it, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with 2 stun counters on it. So if your opponent isn't playing, say, white removal that can exile this thing's just coming back forever. And that is rather interesting to me. I'd say the sideboard is not overly exciting here. We've got Graveyard Hate, we've got some removal. We generically are playing some removal cards, so if Long Goodbye isn't answering the creatures that we need to, we just have the flexibility to adjust a little bit. And otherwise, we have some generic anti-combo, anti-artifact cards in here as well. So this is the first league that I am playing with Duskmourn cards. Let's see how this goes. If you like Unstoppable Slasher and you feel like you need one for your deck, or for your deck, THOAmagic.com is the place to shop. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably buy one of these for commander purposes. Anyway, promo code ThrabenU will save you a little bit on your order, and you always get free shipping if you're ordering online. Slash. My opening hand here seems perfectly reasonable. Is it the exciting slasher hand that I want game 1? No. But assuming my opponent is playing cantrips, which is a somewhat safe assumption, or other card draw effects, double Bowmasters is perfectly reasonable, and Fatal Push to stop an opposing early creature is good. We are most afraid if my opponent is playing a combo deck list. I don't have great interaction for that sort of stuff here. And we will be playing the land that makes us look the most like we might have a counterspell. So my opponent maybe waits a little while to see if it's safe if they are doing something unfair. Arid Mesa is a bit rare in Legacy. Straight Up Mountain. Goblin Welder is fine. I think, not even going to Fatal Push that. I am just going to do a Surveil here, and then I will Bowmaster ping that to save my Fatal Push for a more interesting creature later. No. No, thank you. That's a little weird. I think I am just saving that dark ritual for later. I don't necessarily know that I want to play two Bowmasters at the same time. And I also maybe don't want to wait and let Goblin Welder untap. Weird things can happen sometimes. This is expected. So a blast is available. I have a Fatal Push for the Painter. I would prefer to play that at a time where it's not going to get countered. Do I have 2 Surveil lands or 1? I have 1 Shadowy Backstreet. Understood. We're going to send in with our Orc still. Opponent's not going to block. After no blocks, I believe I am going to give my opponent an opportunity to cast a counterspell. Tap that mountain, baby. No. Ping your face. Go to 16. Take 2. Go to 14. And we'll pass with Fatal Push available for Painter. If this red land ever gets tapped, I'm going in on Fatal Push. Ooh. Wasteland now a fantastic draw. That's fine. I don't care about that. Draw your card. Draw your card. Goblin Welder. Awkward, because I really want to destroy Painter. I am going to destroy this. I think I need to be the aggressor here. These Urza Saga construct tokens are going to be a problem in a minute, and I have a lot of removal that I can top deck. I don't, but I have it. It's in the deck. Opponent will go to 10 here. I think I'm going to come up a little short here. This game's a lot easier if I don't play the second Bowmaster to force some extra points of damage. It's not over yet, but we are at the fetch too thin stage of the game where things are spooky. Fuck, too much mana. We're doing full send here. Every point of life is currently relevant. Alright, opponent is going to take out a Bowmasters. That's fine. Pick 3. Now I'm going to highlight something as if I'm going to cast a spell. Think better of it, and pass. Opponent is probably going to turn a thing into Painter, and then get Grindstone. Sure. So I imagine my opponent is just going to float mana here, and then activate the Grindstone in my upkeep. Nope. Well, I have no removal spell here in a meaningful way. Unfortunately, I am dead. We flooded out a little bit. By adding Dark Rituals to the deck, I make it so that I have a better early game and a slightly worse late game. But I'm into these. I think I'm into these. Go for the Throat, not super attractive here. Fairy is playable. Inquisition is playable. Bowmaster's playable. Douthy's playable. What's most expendable here? I always want these 4. Bowmasters is kind of awkward. Like, it is very nice as an additional removal spell for Goblin Welder specifically, but it basically doesn't kill anything else and is only situationally good versus Vexing Bauble cycling or Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think I'm going to get rid of these. That keeps my curve exactly the same as in previous games. There's the Slasher. I might need to go down a land or 2 in this deck after adding the Dark Rituals. We'll see. I didn't think that I wanted to build this as an Ancient Tomb Chrome Mox Lotus Petal deck. Like, you could do that with Exsanguinator Cavalry, but I really liked the large number of black removal spells and the large number of early plays that this build offered. Hey, don't mind that. It's going to be a lot of damage. So 18. Play Stalker. I'm going to fetch a Surveil land here. I basically just don't want to draw a land next turn. Okay. Okay. Now we scale up our little buddies. Importantly, this means that 1 Fury no longer kills both of my creatures, which is kind of a big deal. There's the Surveil land. It's possible my opponent has some amount of actual white cards in their deck. You know, the Enlightened Tutor style cards are not crazy here. Painter is fine. Turn is gonna be fucking hot. I'm gonna Wasteland you. I think getting rid of Great Furnace, since it is also an artifact for the artifact sub-theme of my opponent's deck, We are going to say goodbye to Painter, bash in for 5, and then scale these up. I am attacking for 7. Even not counting the slasher, my opponent is just on a 2-turn clock from my onboard creatures. Yeah, that was just very overpowering there. So on the draw, do I want a couple of fairies to help mess with the graveyard? I already have 3 Emperor of Bones and Null Rods, which, while they don't necessarily directly stop the graveyard, they contribute to stopping the graveyard, because you don't care as much about the things coming out of it. I think I'm okay. Just let me draw Dark Ritual. Just let me do it. My hand is okay. I have a decent 1-drop, a decent 2-drop, and things to do assuming that I draw 1 more land. This is less good without a fetch land, though. I think I keep this, assuming that most draws that I get over the next 2 turns improve this hand to a keepable state. Like, lands are good, removal spells are good. There's just a lot to like here. Bones. Yeah, that's fine. Emperor of Bones helps versus Goblin Welder, but like, we're definitely going to feel the difference between having a fetch land and not with the opening hand this time. Alright, artifact nonsense. Oh, fuck. Fuck. We're dead. Not sure how, but we're dead. Yeah. So, Chaos Defiler is going to destroy all of my permanents. My opponent can weld this in and out. So, yeah. So, Goblin Engineer can sacrifice any artifact to return an artifact to play. With CMC 3 or less. So my opponent can still just nuke my permanents that I'm playing with this. While I can kill Goblin Welder, so this can't come back, this is still just 5 power in play currently, smacking me in the face. I imagine that this beats me most of the time. I think I'll continue playing for a turn or 2, but I believe that the game is over. Yeah, having long goodbye versus Fatal Push in my opening hand while being on the draw was a really big deal here. Okay, my opponent is opting not to attack with the Engineer to leave this open. So, I guess we're playing Death Touchers. I think I offer Unstoppable Slasher up to the Chaos Defiler, because it, in theory, just comes back. I fog this in combat. After this dies, I play the Lifelinker, and with my opponent putting artifacts into graveyard, it should be pretty big. This does trample, notably. Not the best for me. How does Emperor of Bones read? What happens to the token? Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, okay. Maybe there's still hope for me. Maybe we're not dead. If I can kill Chaos Defiler and then bring it back with my Emperor of Bones, I whack my opponent for a lot of damage while blowing up 2 of their permanents. I imagine we'll see Surveil land end of turn. I'm right. They tanked on it but kept their card. Okay. Yeah? So now it's going to come back with some stun counters on it. So I get to remove a stun counter at the beginning of my upkeep, I think is formally when it happens. So we're not going to get to untap this for a little while. Fatal Push. Not having multiple black mana here is rough. Because Emperor of Bones for that Fury is pretty cool. Not as cool as Emperor of Bones for Chaos Defiler, but still pretty cool. I think I am trying to stabilize the board or force my opponent to use Chaos Defiler. I think I am ignoring the combo finish side for the moment. We can, in theory, mess around with that stuff in a minute. Red Elemental Blast is rough. I think I am now just going to get tempoed out. This puts me to 2. So even if I answer the Chaos Defiler, the 2 little guys just get me. Dark Ritual for Emperor of Bones, though? Dark Ritual. Colorless mana. Cast Emperor of Bones. Oh no! Oh no, 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 no. Fuck. That was a misclick. With Source of Plowshares, it doesn't matter. That will do. So a problem there was that I can't split my Dark Ritual mana up across phases. So I needed a second black that I could use after I exile Fury from the graveyard. So I can make Emperor of Bones into a 4/4 to try to wall. Is it app 2, right? I can't see. I can try to wall this. These are still getting me. Yeah, I think I just came up a little short there. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists. And they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. Okay, am I on play or draw here? I am on the draw. My hand feels a little slow. I've been chatting with my opponent a little bit. I don't think they are on their usual dredge nonsense. Yeah, like I have 16 1-drops, 12 if we don't count Fatal Push. I think this hand is a little slow on the draw. Plus, I've never just seen a fucking Dark Ritual in my opening hand yet, and you know, like, I wanna do the thing. I need it. So let's mulligan this one. Well, this is everything that I asked for. Do I keep 2 of these or variety? I think variety. However, if my opponent thought seizes me on one and I lose the Unstoppable Slasher, I riot. Not that I think that would happen because Dark Ritual is probably the take from that hand. Oh, no, okay, well. I am legally obligated. Legally obligated to do this. Hello, and good luck. Our opponent's having some fun. This is everything I've wanted. Duskmourn, wild success. I'm gonna play one of these in Commander. Get 20'd, nerd. My opponent says, let's find a removal spell. Oops, I don't have any. Alright, we've got cantrips though. And Unstoppable Slasher backed up by Wasteland is kind of hot. I like this. Speaking of what I was just saying, Brainstone. Wild. All right, go to Punchies. Punchies. 18. Have to 9. I'm going to Wasteland. I think I take out the Urza Saga still, despite the fact that Hedge Maze is colored mana. I just, like, don't want to be wrong, and then my opponent drops a Soul Land, makes some Construct tokens, and my skeleton doesn't keep getting through. Okay. I'm less worried about that one. Urza's Saga prior to Brainstorm, though. What is that supposed to mean? Okay. Nullrod almost certainly getting boarded in here. The Thoughtseize, yep. What is this? Oh no, I have to figure out how rooms work. Whenever one or more cards are put into your graveyard from your library, each opponent loses 1 life for each card type, okay? When you unlock this door, mill 3 cards and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. Sure. You unlock things. You may cast either half. The door unlocks on the battlefield. Add a sorcery, you may pay the mana cost of the locked door. Okay, cool. Dark Ritual. Removing things from my opponent's graveyard right now doesn't matter. So I am probably just going to hit my opponent and play my Goyf, and then have the Surveil land for if things get a little weird. Opponent goes to 3. Dark Ritual, Goyf, pass. Now my long goodbye probably doesn't kill a creature. What is Urza Saga doing? Is Urza Saga value? Is Urza Saga tutoring up LED? That's not a creature. Cephalid Coliseum. Alright, I see the moving parts here. Okay. That is a creature that dies to long goodbye. Oh, you dredge, and then... Oh, okay, alright. Opponent's cooking. I'll Surveil, I don't need another Slasher. God, 6/7. Super thick. I guess I just attack, right? Like, it's just lethal. And then I don't put this in the graveyard for some weird thing to happen. Yeah. Alright, get there. Slasher kills today, 1. Alright, so I like Fairy. I like Emperor of Bones. I am unsure how good the discard is. Null Rods are probably good. I am unsure how good Fatal Push and Long Goodbye are. I probably want some amount of removal for Urza Saga Construct tokens. But I don't know if I'm dealing with, like, zombies from Graveyard or Narcomoebas or what. Let's get rid of Long Goodbye, keep the mana-efficient Fatal Push. My Bowmasters are probably pretty good. My Voidwalkers are great. I could reasonably see cutting Slasher. especially on the draw. I'm trying to board in 8 cards while hedging to keep some removal. I think that makes me sad. I think when I'm on the draw, I am going to just cut those. Oh, I don't have a starting mana source here. Otherwise, this hand would probably be pretty cracked. We'll go ahead and mulligan this one despite it having multiple fairies. There's just too large of a chance that I don't actually play a game of Magic because I never draw a land. Yes! Fuck, what do I even throw back? Hand's insane. I think I get rid of the Bowmaster. Could get rid of the second one of these. I think I keep the fairy so that no turn 1 nonsense happens. I don't know. I really want the graveyard to not matter. And if I don't use fairy, I will just cast it as a 2/2. Sure. That's fine. There is a Stinkweed Imp. So, Dark Ritual. Douthie Voidwalker. Stonks. Then I think I'll pass. Like, I will let my opponent use resources attempting to get rid of Douthie Voidwalker, and then once their graveyard is gone, I am perfectly happy using fairy to nuke Stinkweed Imp and Otherworldly Gaze at the same time. Love to find a Null Rod. Just like shut off the Urza Saga side of the deck that could be problematic for me. Surveil lands are fine. Golgari Grave Troll. I don't think I want one of those. But it's nice to have the option. Ooh. I want second Douthie in play first. I think my opponent's deck is probably pretty removal light. And with the graveyard fully shut off and covered with some degree of redundancy, I think I like just slamming the other Douthie. It's not like I'm expecting something like Fury to come down and answer both of these at the same time. I haven't seen something like white mana to be expecting Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, that is just good enough for the GG from our opponent here. And our slasher deck is on the board. Okay, I don't think I like this opening hand with a single land here. I really need to get to 3 to play my good threats. This is much better. Opponent says scared of some crazy brew. I would never. Statistically, it's probably correct to dump one of the swamps or the fetch land here. I think I'm gonna dump Long Goodbye. Then I keep a 1-2-3 curve that is good against any generic deck. And I lose out a little bit versus creature-based decks by making that decision. Alright, what's going on over there? Yeah, that's about what I thought. I'd probably take the Springheart Nantuko over the Elvish Reclaimer. I have multiple different ways to keep the Elvish Reclaimer from getting big. My Unstoppable Slasher is not going to be the best here. My opponent is going to be relatively good at blocking that. I'll take a little damage here. So, I think I like the Bones. The earlier I play the Bones, the better chance I have at keeping Elvish Reclaimer from growing. And I can also just at some point adapt this, landfall, make 2 1/1s, and have a few chump blockers for if that is a relevant thing. Opponent played Misty over the Windswept that I knew about. They've just fetched around Opposition Agent, which is fine. More Bones. Not the most interested in that. It is adapt 2 for the record. I'll exile their land. My opponent can play a 3/4 Endurance and block with it. But like I have an onboard trick, so I don't think they do that. Yeah, so this is just 2 free damage in air quotes. Then we're gonna play everyone's new favorite zombie assassin. Now I don't care about being attacked by the Endurance. Like my opponent could attack me with an Endurance. I block in response to a slasher coming back trigger. They could Bojuka Bog it. In which case I've still traded 1 for 1 and gotten another turn worth of mana out of the way. I'm much more afraid of the natural order type stuff that could be coming. Don't have a good way to answer an Atraxa right now, for example. Yeah, okay, I think we are going to see that exact thing happen here. So I will go ahead and do the block. Alright, are you going to exile my friend? No, it came back. Ooh, sure. You have another Dryad Arbor? Oh, a Noble Hierarch, sure. That makes more sense. Oh, not going for just immediately nuking my Emperor of Bones. That means that I can put a lot of pressure on a Grist, though. Yeah, I'll play like a post-combat Douthie Voidwalker too. Alright. Combat. Target that. Dark Ritual. Oh wait, this is 2 mana. I'm an idiot. I was thinking it was 4 mana. Okay. I used resources inefficiently then. Get back Endurance, yeah. Take the lands out of your graveyard while I am at it. We are going to send both of these at Grist. Emperor of Bones has to be blocked. Endurance maybe should be blocked, but doesn't have to be blocked. Yep. Going to 1. Then we'll Douthie, and we'll pretend that my Dark Ritual play was to allow me to surveil land. Like a smart person. I remembered how much Emperor of Bones ability cost. Whoops. Surveil. Shadowy Backstreet. Any graveyard, right? Any graveyard? I would like to surveil. Ooh. Oh man, it's a finality counter though, so it can't come back more. Whatever, it's fine. The Emperor. Anything cool in exile? No. Go to combat. This Emperor of Bones can just exile nothing. And then this Emperor of Bones will target my Slasher. I might get Bojuka Bogged right here. Oh, right, or the Endurance. Same overall effect. So goodbye, Graveyard. So, Punchy's at face, I think. Punchy's at Grist with Shadow. Okay, this is setting up for a Fatal Push blowout here. So, attempt to cast Fatal Push on Insect token. Something weird could potentially happen here. There's a lot of utility lands. Fantastic. Quick note, I should have ordered blockers differently. Okay, yeah. So this keeps Grist alive for a turn, but I take out the Endurance. And now I can attempt to get that Endurance with haste next turn. My opponent could junk Grist and Noble Hierarch for one of my creatures. The Unstoppable Slasher is back. Douthie Voidwalker currently not in play, so anything that leaves play is going to Graveyard, which is, I guess, relevant for Reclaimer size, but probably relevant in theory and not in practice. Okay, it is just plussing. Don't natural order me. That's illegal. Damn. Okay. Traxa obviously very scary here. Ooh, that's a hoof to hand as well. If my opponent wants it, they might not. It is expensive, but it's a hell of a win condition. Fatal Push and Long Goodbye both don't answer Atraxa. That's a little bit of a problem. Might lose now. The go for the throats that were in the original build would be really good here. Okay, they are going to keep the hoof. They're going to keep a Cradle. Means these are gone. They're going to keep a Green Sun. Once Upon a Time. Okay. Oh, fuck. That gets to happen this turn. Means Elvish Reclaimer is active. Bowmasters. Not hyper relevant here. I can cast it. Depower Gaia's Cradle a little bit. Take the creature out of play. Maybe take the creature out of play. Alright, combat. There's the Once Upon a Time. With mana floating to rotate if my opponent so desires. Okay, just finding a land. That's okay. Sure. Oh, there's not another Talon Gate. Fuck. Stop it with that. Presumably phases out my Douthie Voidwalker, yeah. Hoof is gonna kill me. I can Unstoppable Slasher and, like, undo a lot of the Atraxa life gain. So my opponent Grist pluses has 4 bodies, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 8th mana for Hoof, attack in, kill me. Even if my opponent didn't block 4, 8, 9, 10, 13. Not lethal, even with the drain trigger. Damn, that was an interesting one. Real close. Hello, go for the throats. Might even play another Emperor of Bones. Outside of Natural Order specifically, this game is largely about the battlefield, so I think I am getting rid of this to play more things that impact the field and graveyard. This is a weird one. So this hand has the ability to remove 2 creatures and 2 lands, but does not do anything to progress my own game plan. Is that fine? I feel like my opponent probably grinds me out in a long game if I keep this. Like, it's very easy to just go Bring Heart and Nantucko, make a thing, and then my 1-for-1 removal is not keeping up with my opponent. I don't think I'm into this. I think I would like to play pressure into removal, which is what this is. So, I am throwing back one of the creatures. I think I'm interested in turn 1 Unstoppable Slasher with a removal spell and a Wasteland to back it up. I think that means I'm getting rid of the Emperor here. Plus, like, this is just more fun. And if the keep is fun, it can't be wrong. Right? Right? Alright, so we are looking to 1-for-1 removal whatever creature is played here. Yeah, so we're going to Fatal Push this, Wasteland that, and attack in for a huge chunk of my opponent's life total. Ooh, is that better than taking out the land? It's probably not better than taking out the land. Fatal Push. We don't have to worry about something like Snuff Out killing my black creature here. Send it. So 17, then to 8. Wasteland on Bayou. And pass. So the downside of not just using Bowmasters as a removal spell is that opponent was very surprised by the Wasteland. Was that I may not be able to use Orcish Bowmasters as a removal spell the next turn unless I draw another land, which I did not here. But it is scary to let me hit with Unstoppable Slasher. Like, that's 6 and then 3. And then this is theoretical lethal next turn, especially when considering that Orcish Bowmasters can go to face and that fetch lands are real. White of the Reliquary. This is fine. That's a jump blocker. Almost good. So my Menace creature gets through. These trade, but this comes back. Like, my opponent is at 2. And I trigger Menace, or not Menace, Descend. So, the Slasher. He do be slashing, though. Great when it works. Let's try to make it work again. What's my removal spell count? 11, not counting Bowmasters. Yeah, 11 not counting Bowmasters, 15 counting Bowmasters. Yeah, I think that's high enough that I don't need the discard as well. I think I have enough early game plays here. This isn't perfect, but with a turn 1 play, really 2 different turn 1 plays, and 2 removal spells as follow-up, I think this is fine. Long Goodbye can also answer Grist if that gets played out, which was a relatively strong card against me in game 1. Sylvan Safekeeper. Off basic land as well. That's mighty rude. I don't have the fetch land to start scaling this immediately, but I like how the rest of this is looking. Alright, there's a Reclaimer and a land. Multiple Gophers. I'm not scaling my Menace creature. I think that is acceptable. Let us attempt to kill Elvish Reclaimer. No matter what, Go for the Throat trades for a card. I either trade for the Reclaimer or I trade for a land, and Sinkhole is a card that I'm usually pretty happy to cast. Now, my Menace creature does not get to attack. Doris does it? Yeah, I just do my damage here. Yeah, fuck it, we ball. Let's go. Yeah. And my opponent can surveil land now if they have one. Got rid of Gates of Madara Uchiha, which is a reference only like half of my audience gets. People talk about that comment all the time. Cradle is good. Cradle is Wasteland bait. The next turn I can potentially Wasteland Cradle. My opponent will sack it, target Elvish Reclaimer, and then I throw out a Go for the Throat or a Long Goodbye in response. Sure. That is for Dryad Arbor? Yeah. And white. Sure. This is now a 3-4. I am a little bit behind in terms of mana and board presence. Safekeeper's a pain. I don't get to let my opponent untap with this Cradle, even though they have 1 card left. It's just such a disaster. Okay, so they view this as their most valuable creature. I agree with that overall assessment. I actually probably want to Long Goodbye it, actually. That way, if my opponent natural orders, I have a Go for the Throat that can still kill Atraxa. Alright. I will attack in because of my Menace. I'd be fine trading for any creature here. And then I scale up. Which way does this work? Sacrifice a creature for a land. My opponent can turn Dryad Arbor into Gaia's Cradle, for example. It will be tapped, though. Oh, no. Yeah. Yep. Bloodstained Mire. Are we now in defensive time? Like, do I just play this to be mana efficient and try to double removal spell the following turn? I could see that. Yeah. It's not big, but it is a Death Toucher. And this probably does some amount of stemming the bleeding. But my opponent can find the other Talon Gates of Madara. Or a Cradle. Like, there's multiple things that can kind of break this open here. Endurance. Sure. Which graveyard? My graveyard. And then sacrificing the Endurance in response. Sure. For the Talon Gates. That's going to phase this out. Yep. That's kind of what I was expecting, but with some extra steps. I still take 6-ish damage. I save 2 damage by holding this back. We have land and creature. I'll have a 2/3 lifelinker Death Toucher. Yeah, I'm taking that. Okay. Okay. So now I just hold back with double removal spell available. I think I'm down with that. Barrowgoyf is a little bigger than it looks because I'm going to put instants into the graveyard. This is stressful. Ooh, they're going to bog themselves to make this be 0 power temporarily. Oh, no, they're not. Okay. Sure. Okay, we are chilling. In which case, let's try to do some stuff. Let's attempt to take out the white, like so. I imagine this gets a Sylvan Safekeeper activation. It does. Then we'll target it again and see if my opponent is willing to drop another land. Yeah, both Talon Gates have been used, so that's not happening. Okay, it does. So we have 2 instant speed sinkholes here. I am at 3 life, which is really kind of 6 life. I am interested in this. I have not used a Surveil land, so that is an option. If I attack, my opponent can block here, and maybe with another creature, or block with this and sacrifice something like Dryad Arbor. I can force this creature to be tapped. By wastelanding Dryad Arbor, my opponent can turn it into Gaia's Cradle. Then I can attack with this, gain some life, maybe hit another creature. Or I can just hold this up so my opponent doesn't get their land. That might be better. I'm going to hope that I top deck better than my opponent here. Yeah. We kind of stare at each other. Stop drawing lands. It's a little dicey. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. This just seems so valuable here. No. Absolutely not. Okay. What's under Voidwalker? Nothing. Traxa must have gotten pitched to Endurance earlier. So this can also just be a removal spell at this stage of the game. I think I'm just attacking for 3 and calling that good. 13. All right. Reclaimer happens, and it's Gaia's Cradle. So I can attack a Gaia's Cradle, in which case my opponent can sack Dryad Arbor to just get another. If my opponent has something like a Natural Order, I think I am fine with that happening. That's fine. Okay, no Dryad Arbor down. Opponent's keeping it. Alright, no immediate Natural Order. That's good. Cool. It's the Slasher. This is so tense. If I can get a Gaia's Cradle, I don't think I want one. Do I attack with this now that I have another blocker? Let's say no. I'm very unsure about it. I might be giving up some value. Opponent's down to 10. And then next turn I can potentially try to pivot into a full-on aggro roll. Are we just thinning here? Do you need a secondary color? What's happening? Well, there's black mana. I guess I have to worry about Grist killing this before I gain any life with it. I'm still fine against that. This is tense, though. Land drop is probably good for me. Although, again, it represents more backup for Sylvan Safekeeper. That's a Natural Order. It's not good for me. It is Grist, so there's the black mana. Is there another Dryad Arbor? There is. Sure. I lose this. And so now my opponent can send in with everything. I block this one. Block this one. Take 1. Yeah, this is So close here. I need a relevant draw right here. That won't do it. I can get a blocker. I can kill Grist, put a void counter on it, then not get it back. Yeah. Just think about how good something like Emperor of Bones would have been here. Emperor of Bones, exile Barrowgoyf, bring it back, swing in, gain a bunch of life, take a Grist if I want to. Yeah, I end up just short here. GG's. This is a weird hand because I only have a tapped land, and my turn 2 is really good. I'm going to call this one Reluctant Keep, and we accept the fact that sometimes we just lose to a wasteland. Sure? Also sure. That doesn't matter to me. Well, the turn 2 is batshit insane. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This doesn't quite fit into the picture, and if I get wastelanded, I want another look at a land. I'm going to go ahead and throw that into my graveyard. We might be facing some kind of pseudo mirror. Wait, fuck, they targeted themselves. Oh no. Fatal Push sure doesn't kill that. Alright. That kind of sucks. Sure. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Oh boy. Oh you. 11. Barrowgoyf. Land drop. Emperor of Bones. If I take a creature out of graveyard, I actually reduce the size of this creature. I think I'm just going to take I'll take a sorcery out of my opponent's graveyard and pass. So I can sacrifice my Orc army token to not lose ground to the Archon, and I gain some amount of life back. We might not be out of this. It's certainly bad. So I will sacrifice my Orc, then Bowmaster happens, Bowmaster pings you, brings back my Orc. Opponent goes to 13. I take 6 and go to 8. Ooh, that's another ping for me. That's more damage. I can maybe erase this Archon. Like, I live through it as of right now. Sure. Unmask target themselves. Putting a Chancellor in the graveyard. Are you serious right now? Are you about to animate dead that? Fuck! That's so good. This dodges my small removal. So, if I am effectively at 13 life, this is 9 plus 4 in the air. That is still 13, so this is still lethal. Let's take a swamp out of the deck. I never want to draw a swamp. I'm not really sure what I am looking for. I already have used my Surveil land. That doesn't do it. Take one artifact out of graveyard, sure. Yeah, if my opponent didn't have the second creature for turn 2, I don't think their hand was good enough. Alright, do Goyf things. Yes. Voidwalker does not block. And this is lethal even if I did not fetch. Damn, that was so close. Alright, Fairies in. Go for the Throats in. Emperor of Bones in. Inquisitions in. Fatal Pushes out. How am I versus Psychic Frog if I board out all 8 of these? Maybe not ideal. Discard targeting me has a decent number of really good things to reanimate. I think I'm living with that. What about Bowmasters? How do we feel for like Bowmasters versus Slasher? Bowmasters is kind of neat versus Archon. Otherwise, it's probably not the most relevant. Played earlier, that kind of matters. The Slasher is a much better thing to Dark Ritual into. Oh yeah, this is fine. This is turn 1 threat with some backup. Alright. Let's make a friend. My opponent has kept 7, which is like definitely a little worrying. I think I am fine versus my opponent's fair creatures that they could bring in. I still think I am the most worried about the combo plan. Unmask targeting me. Oh, you've got it. I can take my fairy. And it does. We'll see if my opponent has like Entomb plus Reanimate here. Yeah, so my hand with 2 pieces of interaction was not enough. I have to sacrifice this. Most of what I do for the rest of the game is irrelevant, unless I top deck a Go for the Throat. I can Emperor of Bones and produce a second body temporarily, but that doesn't matter. I just get hit for 9 and then lethal. I have no really reasonable play for the turn. Yeah, it sucks. Alright. I can at least Surveil land or Go for the Throat. That's about the best that I can hope for here. I'm going to throw this into the graveyard with the hopes of bringing it back with Emperor of Bones. But this does give my opponent a chance to reanimate it. Yeah. We're dead. GG's. Final round. Opening hand has no black mana. Well, let's just hope the Fatal Push is good, eh? I think I keep third land over third Fatal Push. Third land lets me cast the Slashers and the Barrowgoyfs. Scale up my duder. Are we doing more Elves nonsense, or is this going to be Eldrazi? Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Sure. So probably a red-green initiative deck. That's fine. Ooh, that's actively good. So Thoughtseize you. That's two very good creatures. I think I take Fury. Let my opponent start the initiative sub-game, and then plan on taking it. I have a Fatal Push plus a fetch land for the Caves of Chaos Adventurer itself. 2? And my opponent's life total is going to go down relatively quickly with a Stalker in play that's going to hit for 3, then 4, plus their Ancient Tomb, and they will need to tap that Ancient Tomb. Ooh, they got rid of Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Sure. Minsk and Boo. Okay. Well, that's a clock, that's for sure. I might just be ignoring that. Ooh, this is an awkward draw mana-wise. Yeah, I think I'm ignoring that for this turn. So send that at your face. Go to 11. Fetch a Surveil land to keep this scaling up. Emperor of Bones. Yes. I'll need another land to really pop off or another turn cycle. So now we are probably Fatal Pushing the Boo token in response to a Minsk and Boo activation of some kind. Yeah. So that's a lot of value for us. There's a land drop. If we dodge this turn, we're in really good shape. That is overall fine. So Minsk can minus and kill Emperor of Bones, which would not be great. So I think I am going to go ahead and attack this for 4 this turn while exiling Fury. So, Junk Fury, attack Minsk and Boo. Ooh, opponent going for the double block here. I'm good with that. The reflection of Kiki Jiki is quite scary. My opponent gets a friend. This is a very big top deck turn for them. If they top deck a large creature that can be sacrificed to get rid of Emperor of Bones, I'm not in the best shape. Ooh. Now it needs to be something castable off of Ancient Tomb plus a red source only. Spirit Guide could do it. Oh, miss. Yeah, that's no cards left. They can punch me for 4, but I think Emperor of Bones is now lethal because Fury is going to come in, deal 4 damage to Boo. Then I have 6, 7, 8 direct damage. Okay. They're going to ping my face and take a redraw here. Let's see if anything changes. Can't cast a Fury. A Broadside. Hey, that's real good. So now they can Broadside kill my Emperor of Bones. And that got them out of it. Yep. Seems good. That was a lucky redraw, but my opponent looked at 6 cards this turn and just needed to find something that was castable with red mana. I don't think that's all that surprising. I have to block or I die. I might still die. This tramples through for 1. My opponent can throw up Chrome Mox at me. And they do. I needed a live draw there. Now Broadside plus a throw, or this and plus is always lethal. Damn. Real close there. So I like these cards. The Thoughtseizes are weird. They don't impact the board, which is the most important zone, but they take powerful cards that my opponent might be keeping their hand around. I think Bowmaster is not super strong. I'm going to replace those and keep Thoughtseize. I don't think I want Inquisition, though. Inquisition is going to miss Caves of Chaos Adventurer, Minsk and Boo, a bunch of other 4-drops of that nature, like Undermountain Adventurer. This is fine. Let's start by putting a land in the graveyard. Just make this slightly bigger immediately in case it's relevant. I don't think it's super likely to be relevant immediately, but it could be. So we have a 2-3 to start with. and that can dodge some smaller removal, such as dead. And then next turn, I can Thought Seize something out of the way and Fatal Push a creature if my opponent plays one immediately. All right, my opponent was looking for mana. That's 4 mana. It is a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. I will Fatal Push that away while taking the initiative. That is quite good for me. And I can even Thought Seize first to make sure that there's no Trixies. Okay. My opponent has 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 mana next turn. Fable's cool and all. I think I'm just going to take the thing that lets them get the initiative back the easiest. I will let you have Fable. So this is going to be a big smack. Okay, the opponent doesn't even want to play it out from there. Yeah, honestly, that's fair. So my follow-up Fatal Push always kills the token. Then I get to get in again. This might be drawing me some cards along the way. So honestly, I'm just most afraid of my opponent doing something broken on turn 1 before I get a turn. And their deck is kind of designed to just shove 4-drops relatively consistently as like an 8 Spirit Guide plus additional fast mana beyond that deck. I don't think my Null Rods come down fast enough to be relevant. If my opponent doesn't do something on turn 1, this hand is pretty good. I think I lose if they do something on turn 1 most of the time anyway, and so I'm going to hope that things are a little clunky. We can maybe beat something like a Fable of the Mirror Breaker that happens on 1, but an initiative creature is going to be so tough. Broadside under Chrome Mox, yeah. But my Fatal Push is not guaranteed to be able to answer that creature. My Thought Seize is just slow versus the onboard creature. Yeah, being on the draw versus initiative is a nightmare. Okay. I think I need to just pass the turn and then kill in response to Forge or Lost Well. All right, opponent is going Lost Well. So now I'm going to go ahead and attempt to Fatal Push. I want to give them the opportunity to go to Forge to give me that additional value. The downside of letting them untap is that they could like use this to play something like Once Upon a Time in response. That's brutal. So now we just have to believe in Emperor of Bones, I guess. My Thought Seizes are now too slow. I just have to worry about the onboard stuff or I die. So I can put an initiative creature under here. But my opponent is 1 initiative card or 1 turn cycle away from Throne of the Dead 3. And I probably don't beat my opponent finding a Fury or whatever off of that. Alright. 3rd Haymaker. Fuck. That was a hell of a hand. Yeah, okay. Alright. Yeah, no. We can see the writing on the wall here. Alright, so that was a 1-4 record. Honestly, though, it didn't feel that bad. Like, we were certainly playing Magic in all of our rounds, and the games were really intricate. We have some ability to grind. I don't think the deck building is perfect here, but this probably isn't all that far off. It needs a little iterating. So, things that have come up. There's a little bit of tension between Douthie Voidwalker and Emperor of Bones / Barrowgoyf, in that you are trying to use graveyards as resources, but you are also doing some things that shut graveyards off. If you want to play this as an Ancient Tomb deck, you can cut Douthie Voidwalker to get in some Exsanguinator Cavalries, I think, pretty reasonably. If you go the Ancient Tomb route, you maybe end up cutting Bowmasters or Thoughtseize in some capacity. Not 100% sure. I liked having a decent density of removal. I liked having a decent density of threats. I liked being able to have 8 turn 1 discard spells. So this feels like something that if you messed around with it for a few leagues, you could probably get something passable. Let's evaluate this card. I'm honestly going to give this one a thumbs up. It 3-turn clocks your opponent by itself. It is a Death Toucher, so at worst, it does tend to trade with creatures in combat. You know, it's no Psychic Frog that is going to come down very quickly and immediately take over the game by itself. Like, this needs support from some removal spells, or it needs some other smaller creatures to come first, draw the removal, and then this gets to go all the way. But having a decent number of Death Touchers backed by this much removal means that if you're playing against other fair decks, you're probably going to do okay. The Reanimator matchup felt really bad, and we were just a little too slow for initiative. They just physically have more fast mana than us. I'm still gonna give this deck the thumbs up, despite the negative record. I like a lot of what's going on here. You'd maybe play second surveil land. You could maybe cut one land. There's some room to make manual small adjustments here, but this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. So Sean, thank you very much for the dealer's choice donation deck list to make it happen. Folks, if you need your slashers, TOAmagic.com, promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!